are these people?
This story, I think, was somewhat big in our space.
Yep.
We take the little victories where we can get them, but I have thoughts on this.
Yeah. I do too.
I have thoughts on this. I'll definitely will share them later. It actually might relate to
Did you
a story
watch
I
the
think I was going to do.
Rage Against the Machine clip I sent you?
I actually
gotta
did
get-
not, and I'm sorry I didn't.
You terrible, terrible person. It's all right. I'm sure we'll manage without it.
Yeah. It's not as if we can play it here anyway.
Right?
Right.
No.
So
No.
but Biden, in like 10 minutes before he walked out of the White House, granted clemency to Leonard Peltier, which, again, I have thoughts, but I'll explain those thoughts later. I mean, on one hand, obviously I get this is a good thing, but at the same time, is it the best thing? You can make your argument as to one or the other. But this article has been brought to us by a friend of the show, about Wilkins. Also from Common Dreams, who reported on, "It's finally over. I'm going home. Biden grants commutation, but no pardon for Peltier." So Brett writes, "Just minutes before leaving office, Joe Biden on Monday commuted the life prison sentence of Leonard Peltier, the elderly American Indian movement activist who supporters say was framed for the murder of 2 federal agents during a 1975 reservation shootout. It's finally over. I'm going home," Peltier, who is 80 years old, said in a statement released by the indigenous left activist group NDN Collective. "I want to show the world I'm a good person with a good heart. I want to help the people just like my grandmother taught me." While not the full pardon for which he and his defenders have long fought, the outgoing Democratic president's commutation will allow Peltier, who has been in prison for nearly half a century, to spend his remaining days in home confinement, according to Biden's statement, which was no longer posted on the White House website after Republican President Donald Trump took office Monday afternoon. So if you zoom in, please. So this is from a tweet from the End Collective. Oh, by the way, for folks who know, Reef brought this story to me. So appreciate Reef for you actually pulling this together. So breaking, Leonard Peltier granted executive clemency after 50 years of unjust incarceration and the tireless efforts of intergenerational grassroots organizing and advocacy. Our elder and relative, Leonard Peltier, has been granted executive clemency. So there he is right there. I mean, as I said, I have thoughts, but anyway, tribal nations, Nobel Peace Laureates, former law enforcement officials, including the former U.S. attorney whose office oversaw Mr. Peltier's prosecution and appeal, dozens of lawmakers and human rights organizations strongly support granting Mr. Peltier clemency, citing his advanced age, illnesses, his close ties to and leadership in the Native American community, and the substantial length of time he has already spent in prison, Biden explained. Biden Exterior Secretary Deb Haaland, I guess, the first Indigenous cabinet secretary in U.S. history, said in a statement, "I'm beyond words about the commutation of Leonard Peltier. His release from prison signifies a measure of justice that has long evaded so many Native Americans for so many decades. I'm grateful that Leonard can go home to his family. I applaud President Biden for his action in understanding what this means to Indian country." Oh. Congressman Raul Javala, I guess that's how you say it, sorry, who last month led 34 U.S. lawmakers in a letter urging clemency for Peltier, said in a statement that for too long, Mr. Peltier has been denied both justice and pursuit of a full, healthy life at the hands of the U.S. government, but today he is finally able to go home. President Biden's decision is not just right, merciful, and decent. It is a testament to Mr. Peltier's resilience and the unwavering support of the countless global leaders, Indigenous voices, civil rights, and legal experts, and so many others who have advocated so tirelessly for his release. Javala added, while there's still much work to be done to fix the system that allowed this wrong and so many others against Indian country, especially as we face the coming years, let us today celebrate Mr. Peltier's return home. So this is a tweet from Nick Estes, who tweeted, Leonard Peltier is granted clemency. He's out of prison and commuted to home confinement. This is a huge win for grassroots indigenous movements who kept his campaign alive, and a moral indictment on the system and people who kept him unjustly imprisoned for half a century.
Yep.
NDN Collective founder and CEO Nick Tilson said Monday that Leonard Peltier's freedom today is a result of 50 years of intergenerational resistance, organizing, and advocacy. Leonard Peltier's liberation is our Leonard Peltier's liberation is our liberation. You could probably see why I have an issue with this.
Sure.
We will honor him by bringing him back to his homelands to live out the rest of his days surrounded by loved ones, healing and reconnecting with his land and culture. Tilson continued. Let Leonard's freedom be a reminder that the entire so-called United States is built on the stolen lands of indigenous people, and that indigenous people have successfully resisted every attempt to oppress, silence, and colonize us, Tilson added. The victory of freeing Leonard Peltier is a symbol of our collective strength, and our resilience will never stop. Amnesty International USA Executive Director Paula
freeing part. Like that's the thing is like, I mean, he's still convicted and still guilty on the books, you know. They let him out,
which is
great.
what clemency means.
Yes.
Right. It's not. I might as well get into it now. It's
like
not a pardon.
arrest.
So a pardon would be like full clean slate. Clemency is,
which it would be the Democrat fighting for clemency, and it's not, you know,
right. But
full kit and caboodle.
But Biden was able to pardon his family.
Yeah.
He was able to pardon what's his face? Shoot, name of the doctor. It's escaping me.
Fauci.
Fauci. Thank you. Like,
yeah.
Right. He even and I might talk about this story maybe next week, but he pardoned Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
Who's dead.
Right.
You know. So but you give clemency to Peltier, and actually I saw someone in the chat say, let me try and find it. Oh, where did that go? Oh no, I lost it. Oh yeah, Popeye Sailor said, no, I got it. Just the fact that he didn't give Bono a blanket part. Well, actually, no, but just the fact that he gave Bono a blanket part for lousy music tells you he really didn't like him. But I read it wrong, but I thought, but essentially, like, clemency is kind of I think honestly a dick move.
In some respects. I mean, it's like, we know we're doing wrong, but like, fuck you anyway. You know?
Right. So it's like, I think, look, now, I hate doing this because this gives Assange vibes to me.
Yeah.
And I do not want to right. By the way, I do not want to take away the advocacy and of people who fought for this.
You know what I noticed with those things, like with what happened with that?
What?
Maybe not with the Assange stuff, because that's a little different. But with this stuff, to me, it's like, and Trump did very similar things to me. You can pardon whoever you want as long as it doesn't hurt capital in any way. You know?
Right.
Like, and that's easy easy wins for them to take. and gives them an entire
Right.
news cycle about it. So,
Right.
and people will give
But
them credit for it.
again,
When usually it had nothing to do
right.
with them
Again,
anyway. It was the pressure of, actual activists fighting for it most of the time
actually,
who won't
right.
get the credit for it.
But he Right, but he
So,
did the bare minimum, which
yeah,
again, very much a Democratic move.
yeah.
Democrat in general is
Which,
like
speaking of
that's
bare
not
minimum,
what that's not that's not what activists were wanting. They wanted
yeah,
a pardon, but they got
yeah.
clemency instead. And the fact, and again, I don't want to discredit them. I really, really don't. But it's like
That
I
in and of
get why
itself
people are
is a good
happy.
thing. Like, he's not in a jail
It's a
cell.
good thing,
That's
but
good.
again, as I said, is it the best
Yeah.
thing? Is
No,
it the best thing?
no.
No. Like,
So,
I, and again, I don't want to shit on this. I really, really don't because I it, it's to me a form of settling that makes me uncomfortable.
yeah,
Now, if people are excited about it, I can't take that away, but it's not a full pardon. As I said, Biden was able to posthumously pardon a black activist who's been dead for over 80 years. You're telling me that you can pardon a current activist who's alive, who's on his deathbed practically at this point, so that he's able to have the fullness of his life for the rest of his days without any worry.
yeah. Well,
Like he's going home, he's basically essentially home confinement. That's house arrest in my mind. Like,
we can't let them
yeah, you get
know
to go
that
home and you get to
that
chill,
we
but
can
you are
lie
you
about
really
someone killing federal agents. We can't have. That's the
right?
reason. You know.
Right. But
So,
again, it's like it's not really freedom if you're confined to your home, to
yeah,
me. Now, granted, his age, he may not want to do anything at this point. And like, yeah, he's 80, like,
yeah. Sit at
but it's still
home.
not the full liberation that
Yeah.
I think people were asking for. So this is kind of where I have a problem with. I'm very mixed on it. And
No,
it's
I feel
like,
you.
I just feel like even in this article, it seems to be a lot of higher ups who are like, yay! But like, what are the actual activists on the ground really saying?
Yeah.
Like, or maybe they might say behind closed doors. Are they
Right.
really happy with
No.
the clemency thing? I don't
No.
think
This
so.
is
But
which Amnesty. If Amnesty International is jumping in, you know, like they've not had great records on this. So,
right.
as plenty
Which,
of our
by the
friends can
way,
attest.
uh Executive Director Paul Bryan said that President Biden was right to commute the life sentence of Indigenous elder and activist Leonard Peltier, given the serious human rights concerns about the fairness of his trial. Um, while Peltier admits to having participated in the June 26, 1975 gunfight at the Olala Sioux Reservation at Pine Ridge, South Dakota,
Yep.
he denies killing Federal Bureau of Investigation agents Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams. As
Yep.
HuffPost senior political reporter Jennifer Bendury recapped Monday, there was never evidence that Peltier committed a crime, and the U.S. government never did figure out who shot those agents. But federal officials needed someone to take the fall. The FBI had just lost two agents, and Peltier's defendants were all acquitted based on self-defense. So Peltier became their guy. His trial was rife with misconduct. The FBI threatened, and that even of itself,
Yep.
like, red flag.
Plus, they're
Like,
not even supposed to be on that property
um,
anyway. You know. So,
yeah,
which is why everyone else got self-defense. You know. Plus, two people said they lied. I mean, there's so much. You should go look at the Rage Against the War machine back when they were actually good at this. Had a song called Freedom, I think. If people want to go look up the music video for that, it does explain a lot of this as well. I think me and Indy also covered a pretty decent portion of the story on How Do We Miss That, so feel free to go check that out. Um, so, but Yep. Yep.
His trial was
Peltier.
rife with misconduct. Yeah. The FBI threatened and coerced witnesses into lying. Federal prosecutors hid evidence that exonerated Peltier. A general knowledge on the second day of the trial that she had prejudice against Indians, but she was kept on anyway. The government's case fell apart after these revelations, so it simply revised its charges against Peltier, I'm saying the French way first.
Yeah, I would say it's the French way.
to,
Wouldn't that be the way?
yeah,
That's what I've heard everyone else say.
well,
What happened
either
was
way,
Indy went to New
uh,
Orleans for a day and thinks he knows French pronunciation now. I think that's what happened. I could be wrong, but they could just be. Dude, it would get me so heated. There's a place near where I used to grow up called, it was spelled Lafayette, but they didn't say it like that. It will Lafayette, right? And it pissed me off so much. You were butchering the lovely, pretty French. Don't be doing that.
Cajun.
It's the worst. It's way worse than that. Cajun at least knows how to do it, But no, that was bad. Lafayette's
I would
bad.
argue probably Cajun is more like bastardized French or a form of French
But we
patois,
still know
I
how to
guess.
pronounce.
But
Like we could pronounce it. Like there's some basic rules for the Latin, Like so it's all the grammar and stuff that gets weird there. But yeah, Lafayette just
anyway,
irks me, especially when it's like the name of a historical person, who helped start our country. It frustrates me even more, But anyway, digress.
The government's case fell apart after these revelations, so it simply revised its charges against Peltier to aiding and abetting whoever did kill the agents, based entirely on the fact that he was one of the dozens of people present when the shootout took place. Peltier was convicted and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. Jesus Christ. American Indian Movement activist Joel Stuntz Killswright was also killed at Pine Ridge when a U.S. Bureau of Chief Affairs agent sniper shot him in the head after Collin and Williams were killed. Stuntz's death has never been investigated.
Funny how that
why?
works.
Right. Some indigenous activists welcomed Peltier's commutation while also remembering Annie Mae Pichu and Quash and Umak. Sorry, butchered that name. The tribe.
I would think.
Maybe. I think, maybe, I guess.
I don't know.
Activist who was kidnapped and murdered at Pine Ridge in December 1975 by her fellow AIM members. Some of Aquash's members believe her killing to be an assassination ordered by AIM leaders who feared she was an FBI informant.
Okay.
So this is a tweet from Tara Huska, who tweeted, Leonard Peltier is going home. A powerful moment for his family, his tribe for Indian country. Peltier unjustly lost his freedom for the killings of 2 federal agents. It is unjust not to speak of Annie Mae Aquash, who lost her life, of her family who never received justice. So this is what Biden wrote in connection to this. Well, not wrote, but this is from his desk. The president is commuting the life sentence imposed on Leonard Peltier so that he serves the remainder of his sentence in home confinement. He is now 80 years old, suffers from severe health ailments, and has spent the majority of his life, nearly half a century, in prison. This commutation will enable Mr. Peltier to spend his remaining days in home confinement, but will not pardon him for his underlying crimes. So, yeah. So, like we said, you can go home, but you still have your record on your ass. So, so again, it kind of goes, yeah. So, Mr. Peltier is a Native American activist who is currently serving life in prison. Well, here we go. For killing 2 FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and escaping from federal prison. So they didn't even prove that he did, but it's still saying, oh, yeah, he did it. So tribal relations, Nobel Peace laureates, former law enforcement officials, including the former U.S. attorney whose office oversaw Mr. Peltier's prosecution and appeal, dozens of lawmakers and human rights organizations strongly support granting Mr. Peltier's clemency, citing his advanced age, illnesses, his close ties to and leadership in the Native American community, and the substantial length of time he's already spent in prison. So here's the thing that now I'm wondering as I'm reading this through again.
Go back and ask them if they wanted like pardoning.
Right. Because it seems that they went for the clemency.
Right. If there's the
but
only
they
thing
didn't
that's going
go
to be
for
offered.
Right. So this is again why I say this all the time, especially with policy. You go for the grand prize, right?
Yep.
You don't ever go, you don't start with the compromised position. Because then if you start with a compromised position, they'll go lower than that. So you get less of that. So it'd be one thing if they started with the pardon and went to clemency. And we don't even know that happened.
Yeah.
But it seems like the pardon wasn't even on the table. I don't know. And anyone who knows better can say in the chat. But it seems like the grand prize for them was clemency, not necessarily a pardon. So that's the issue that I have with this. It's that they lowered their expectations, I think, thinking it would be the easiest to get versus what would be the best thing for Leonard Peltier to have. And so that's where my problem is, and how people are excited that he got clemency. It's essentially, like, again, you're in home prison.
Right.
Yeah, you got to go home, but you can't do shit.
Yeah.
So
got the ankle bracelet. You ain't doing nothing.
Right. Right.
So
which again, he probably not whether he minds it or not, who knows what he's saying. Like, I just can't wait to go home. Given that he's 80 and probably again on his last days anyway, sure, probably. But what if he was younger? Like,
right.
Like that wouldn't necessarily fly with me. If I was him and if I was a lot younger. Like I said, if he's for it, fine. I won't take that away from him, and I can understand why it's better than dying in prison. That being said, I think it just sets a bad
border. That's all.
Right.
Get them up to the border.
I think this just not to say that it's that this is the first time, but it's saying the president of not going for the fullness of what you're able to get and accepting it, accepting the bare minimum, which I don't necessarily agree with in this case. So,
which, speaking of bare minimum, Biden leaving office, Biden issues a flurry of 11th hour preemptive pardons to protect numerous relatives and government officials whom Trump and his allies have threatened with political motivated legal action. However, the outgoing president,
one including his son Hunter, which I know people in the space have talked about before.
Hopes of figures including Donziger, Littlejohn, and descendants of Ethel Rosenberg who were seeking last-minute pardons or commutations, as well as Assange and Ross Ulbright and all that jazz. Which, Trump at least got Ross Ulbright, so he's out of there. Leonard Peltier, black check. Free Julian Assange, green check. Ross, check. So now shoot Mumia Abu Jamal and probably a ton of others in Israel. They probably also need to be. So probably need to do a new list coming up. But,
like I said, the fact that he pardoned Marcus Garvey, who's dead, like, I think it's just, I think actually now I have to do that story now because I saw that. Shout out to DJ Joe Nice who posted that on his Instagram and like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like,
if it were me, I'd do something funny like, who killed Lee Harvey Oswald? You know what I mean? Like, you pardon that guy
Mhm.
of any crimes, right before, because you know Trump's gonna do the JFK stuff, so you're like, well, let me throw a wrench in this real quick, you know? Like, I do some
Right.
silly stuff like that, but otherwise, in they're
Right.
mainly like political photo ops, so to speak, with those
Yeah.
two.
Again,
Not that
but
I don't
people are
agree
like,
with
"Yay,
them
Dynasty!"
being at them getting out. Good. Everything else about it,
Right.
not
But
great.
again, it's like the mainstream accepts this as a good thing,
Yes, because they want you
and
to. They want to make sure you know that you got a bone thrown, and it's like,
and right,
you threw us some
and
crumbs, bitch.
I'm the dick that is gonna be like, "Oh, you're so ungrateful," because I'm not necessarily
Yes.
happy that he
Yeah.
got,
You
or
are.
anyone
That's
else who
okay.
might criticize it,
I
or
am too.
like, who got clemency. He got clemency. And I'm like, "No, it's the idea like he deserves a pardon."
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stick to my guns and be like, "That's what he deserves." Especially since the court your case was bullshit to begin with. If they weren't able
Mhm.
to kind of put it on him, he should be out and fully pardoned and have it be done with.
Yeah.
As you said, like Biden was able to pardon his family and was able to pardon Fauci, which that in of itself is bullshit because it's like, why he wasn't convicted of anything, so why are you pardoning his ass? My guess is
Mhm.
because probably knew that the Republicans will go after him over some shit. So it's like, okay, what do they have or what do they know in government that Fauci is guilty of that Biden would feel that he needs to pardon him in the 11th hour before he left? So, but you can't pardon an activist who's still living, who's old, who's not going to be a threat to you at this point, um, and just give him clemency. Yeah, I just think, yeah, it's ridiculous. So, um, but yeah, any last words on this?
Nope. Just pay attention. A lot of distraction happening, but glad people got out. Uh, you know, I'll get people out of the bars first, and then see what we can do from there. But also I would have asked for the whole fucking hog first, but that's just me.
Right,
Um,
right, yeah.
but anyway,
So yeah,
talking about these
I
things,
question those lawyers.
yeah,
Sorry, but yeah, I
for
question
sure.
those lawyers. Like, what were you doing? Like, did you actually go for a pardon, or you just
Mhm.
were willing to settle for clemency because it
Yeah.
was easier?
Which,
So
like, why
I don't
you could
know.
go back? Yeah, I don't get it either. You could just go back to bed. Don't worry about it. You would face no repercussions. But fine. Anyway, talking about these things is why we're demonetized. You can go to code.com/indienewsnetwork, scan that QR code on your screen, or if you're in the live chat, !donate will get you the links to donate to us. We appreciate it. Always in the description below. But mainly like and subscribe, share the stream, share the clips. It's up to you to fight suppression. And just leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We read those. You'll notice we do that. So get down there. But you know, otherwise, thanks for watching.